Hello everybody and welcome into episode 1 of the Speedrun. Today we're playing a 250 rated opponent. We are getting started at the lower end, and the idea of the Speedrun is I'm going to play an opening I really want a lot of you beginners to play. And what we're going to do is every game is white or black. As we play these openings, we're going to learn from them and get better and better at the theory. So what we're going to go for is the 4 knights. Oh, there we go. We got the first one out. We're looking for the 4 knights opening, and then I'm going to show you some of the main moves here. We are getting the 4 knights, and at this point, this is what you want. Hopefully, perfect. This is the setup you will get most often, especially at the beginner level, but really at all levels of chess, you go for the 4 knights. And people think this opening's boring. You probably have heard really strong players say, this is really boring. It's just going to lead to a draw. It definitely won't at most rating ranges. So even up to like a 2,000 rated player, this is going to be insane, way above 2,000 probably. Insanely complicated, cool position to play for everyone. So the main trick of this opening is right now, we're going to throw our pawn out here. And they took perfect. And we're going to take back with the knight. At first, when people see this pawn move, they think it's not possible because, well, they can take it twice, but our queen is also defending this pawn, and this is the idea. We're going to open up the position. Hopefully they take. They didn't. They put their bishop out here. This is one of the good moves of the position, and at this point, you might be a little worried. What if they take? But let's defend it. We could take here. What if they take? Let's defend it. What if they take and take? Okay, now we're looking at something a little more scary. So if they take this knight, we take back, they could take our hanging pawn. So if you don't like that, we'll look at the best moves after the game. So after the game, we'll look at it and try to let you know before you leave the video each time what is the absolute best move to play if you want to memorize it. But also, most of these openings at the 200 level, you don't have to memorize every single move. You just have to kind of ask yourself, well, how do I solve this problem? One way would be to take this knight and develop a bishop. We can't develop our bishop first. That looks like a great move, but then our knight is hanging. So let's play this simply. Let's just take the knight. We know it can't be a terrible move. And now they took with that pawn. So our pawn is still hanging. We can push it. But rather than attacking yet, let's try to keep developing pieces. So we can develop the queen, which defends the pawn and the knight, but that's a little bit in the way of the bishop. So let's just play this simply. And if they want to double our pawns and give a bishop, I don't care. Oh, wow. Okay, they are going for the attack. Now, does this move have a threat? It actually does. It's pretty clever for a 200 rated player. If we don't take and they push this pawn down, now we're running into some troubles here, right? This could be a little bit of an issue. So let's work through this. We get a bishop out. Looks like the simple move because if they push, we can then move our knight out of the way. A trade, no big deal. Let's look at what happens if we get our bishop out to break the pin and they take. We can take and take here. I mean, there could be a huge trade that happens. We'd actually be okay in that position. We could also just take. We always have to ask ourselves, can we just castle, especially early on in the game? Is it okay to just castle? Let's do that move first. That's probably the safest move. We just castle. If they were to take a pawn, obviously if they were to push, we're not pinned anymore because we castled. They take a pawn. We take a knight. They take. We take. If they want to trade queens, that's fine because now our rook is here. Let us just castle. Simply get our king out of the center. And they didn't take. So now at this point, I'm looking at getting my last piece out. I can do that with a pin. I can re-threaten. You don't always have to pin. You can also break their pin. I think both moves are probably fine here. Let's go here, threatening this move. Okay, they saw it. We can take back with either piece, but the knight would put pressure on that knight because it's still pinned. So let's do the knight. And also it gets it out of this. This isn't a big deal. Oh no. Well, our opponent did very well for 10 moves, but has now hung a queen, which obviously the best move is just to take the queen. We can just take this queen. We can like look for other moves, but why be too fancy? Why not just take a queen? Okay, as a beginner, oh man, our opponent doesn't even take back. Is there some trick here? I mean, we can just take a knight. Thank you. Now you're going to take our bishop? Now you take our bishop, but what an interesting move our opponent played. This is This is tricky. I'm not going to make fun of our opponents at this rating range because everyone has to start somewhere, but it's tricky. Sometimes as a beginner, you see a move, maybe someone played online that looked counterintuitive and made another threat, but in this case, it doesn't work. It was already lost anyway because they lost their queen, but we can just get our queen out now to a square, makes a threat. Our opponent immediately blunders a rook. Just to be clear, I did not get my queen out to attack a rook. That wasn't the plan. I got my queen out because I want to put my rooks in the center and checkmate our opponent. They just blundered a rook too. So I'm going to move rooks to the center. This looks like a pretty good move. It immediately sets up a threat. Our opponent will probably get the bishop out. And we could react to this because our queen is hanging. But if you don't forget that your queen is hanging, you can take this bishop first because this is actually a check. The secret here is to not forget at the end of the sequence your queen is still hanging. So we're going to take here. Has to move. Okay, and then checkmate. Just like that. Okay, so the opening starts with, I think, one of the best first moves for a beginner. Just pawn the e4. Our opponent does the mirror, which will normally happen. Again, we're just going to kind of hit the moves when they come up in this speed run. So we got a knight out. This immediately pressures a pawn. Not like we would take it in most situations, but they defend the pawn. We get the knight out. This is where you can really go a lot of different ways. I mean, you can get a bishop out. You can get a bishop out here. Don't play this move. I mean, there's no point of it. It's not a terrible move, but there's no point. Just get a piece out. But we want to focus on this speed run of being the 4 knights. And thankfully, our opponent played right into our hands. We got the 4 knights in the center. And you will hear people say, this opening's kind of boring. You shouldn't normally play it. Yada, 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 yada. Don't worry about that. This is a super fun opening at almost all levels, unless you are a super strong titled player. So we throw a pawn in the middle. This move is made possible because our queen can defend. And oops, the knight does not move like that. Just like this. So take. And then in this position, our opponent played a really good move. But I just want to show you what would happen if our opponent took, okay? Let's say our opponent does this and this. And a lot of beginners maybe have watched the chess YouTube video, or maybe you've heard, don't get your queen out first. Get your other pieces out first. Well, there is one really big reason your queen should not be on this square. There's several reasons your queen shouldn't be out. But in most openings, the reason you don't want your queen out early is because your opponent can do what's called attack it with tempo. So for example, let's say we were really dumb and we just wasted a move for nothing. Our opponent can now develop this bishop with tempo. So it's a good move. It's a good move anyway. It's not a random attack on the queen. It's just a good move, developing a bishop, getting ready to castle. But it's with tempo, meaning we have to waste a move now, moving our queen out of the way, right? Well, check out what I just did. I had to waste a move to make that happen because where did this horsey used to be? Boom, boom. That horsey is the number one reason why the queen there is bad in the opening, because you put your queen here in the opening. Oopsie. Here, this horse jumps out and attacks it. But that horse is gone. That's why this opening works. You can even see the computer says you're about +1 right now, because taking is not really the best idea as black, even though most of your opponents will take. Our opponent didn't do that, but I just want to show you this is the main idea. If they take, it's not losing if they don't take. Obviously, the position is totally fine here as well. It still says that we have an advantage. But here, what will often happen, totally fine. Don't be afraid of this. You just have to be careful. Don't do anything crazy like, start pushing pawns and leave your king in the center and let them develop with tempo. But right now, there's no one move threat, so your opponent's going to make a move somewhere, develop something. They can't even develop here or here. Or here, so maybe they're going to push a pawn out to the center, and you just develop and castle. It's kind of the idea. But our opponent played actually one of the better moves, which is to immediately move the bishop out. Oops, let me get back to the position in the game. Here. Now, this moment, I took a little bit of time to talk about what's going on, because there are a lot of pieces hitting our 2 horses and our pawn. And this move actually does contain a threat, threatening to take the knight. If we recapture with a pawn, it's not the doubled pawns I'm worried about. It's the fact that our pawn is now hanging over here. So this is a good move because it immediately puts some pressure on us. Are we just going to leave our knight there and lose a pawn? It's actually not the best move. We talked about what we could do. So we're like, we could defend with a bishop. But boom, now we're totally losing. So that is an easy blunder to make. If you make this move, it has literally happened thousands of times in history of chess. So don't be too sad. Just remember for the future, the queen's job was to defend that knight. So you can't block the queen's vision. If you simply develop a bishop, it's not completely losing by any means. check, take back, recapture here. So you did lose a pawn. The reason it's not completely losing is because, well, we have 2 bishops, but it is complicated and there's no reason to allow this. So if the bishop can't go here and really here doesn't solve the problem, what if we push the pawn? Well, that just changes the pawn to a knight, and we haven't really gained anything. You might think, well, I can now win it this way, but they can just defend. Well, first of all, they can take the knight first if they want to. But then after that, they can just castle. We can't take because, let me show you, if they castle, you can't take things in the center if you even castle, because now you lose your own queen. Yeah, you want a knight, but yeah, you walk into that. Or even if they probably just defended with the pawn, I'm sure it's still fine for them. Oh, actually, they can't defend with the pawn because we can win the knight that way. That's my mistake. So they would have to castle, but still, you're totally losing. If they castle, you just completely lost the game. You can attack the horse now, and the horse, they just moves. So, anyways, this got really complicated suddenly. Sorry, but pushing the pawn doesn't solve the problem either. So we talked about our options, and we said, you know what? This is so complicated. We could also just trade off the knight. Which you don't want to have that mindset. You get better at chess. Like, I don't want to calculate. Let me just trade it off. But if you don't see an obvious solution, we can just take the knight. And this is actually, funny enough, the best move. This is basically every single professional game of chess has been played. You take the knight in this position because all the other options are bad. And then if you see something like this, and then at this point, actually, we can do what we did in the game. We went here. Our opponent took with this pawn. Really, either pawn is fine. Here, you could choose to trade off queens if you want to, but let's not get into that. They took our pawn. We defended our pawn in the center of the board, which is actually the best move, is just to defend the pawn with the bishop. In general, you want to avoid moves like this. Pawn here, it's not bad. It's just a decent thing to have in mind. You haven't even castled yet, and you're opening up checks from their queen again, right? So this is it's a little dangerous. You probably just also want to develop your pieces in castle, right? So think about it this way. You put your bishop here. What did you accomplish? Well, you defended a pawn, and you developed a piece, and it was a piece that helped you castle sooner. If you defend the pawn this way, you still have to develop a piece and castle, and you've weakened your king, and you haven't castled yet. So this move has a couple negatives. This move is really exactly what you want. You want to find moves in the opening that do jobs. In this case, we defended a pawn and castle. Now, you might ask, are you afraid of this? Nope, not at all. You can see the engine isn't either. The engine agrees with me. In this position, yeah, you have doubled pawns, but the game probably won't even make it to an end game because you're just going to crush your opponent. You're going to castle. You have open lines. You have bishops aimed over here. You can even develop this bishop with this weird move to here to put pressure, so we're not worried about that. So in the game, we defended our pawn like this. Our opponent immediately struck, which is actually a really good move. Makes this threat. Once again, you have to ask yourselves, why would my opponent do that? That looks stupid. Well, that's actually threatening to win the knight. If I just do something random like this, well, actually that works. But if I just say random over here, we're running into this move, which I guess technically doesn't still work because you can counterattack the bishop. But again, why allow all this? You ask yourself, what was the threat? The threat was to go here, but we can castle because if they push the pawn in this position, we can move back. Now, you're seeing the engine say castling was actually a slightly bad move. We are winning by 0.1, and now we're losing by 0, 0.2, 0.1 again. The reason is apparently at this point, this is a good idea. Oh, because they can take the pawn, I guess. I guess at this point they can win the pawn. But can they? Can't we just go here? Oh, we don't win our pawn back because if we take here, they can take our queen first. We have to take back and our bishop. Okay, this is kind of complicated. So the best move in this position would have been to just take, let them fix their pawn structure, and then castle. Then if they go here, all of this probably works at this point, and you probably have lots of good moves. Yep, that's a good move. Offering a trade. It's okay. Our opponent immediately blundered, allowed us back in the game, and this is just a really, really lazy move. So this move, we literally moved this piece here to pin the knight. And the move I think I said I wanted to do in the game was even this move maybe, which is also a good move. All the moves are good. But I literally put my bishop here for one reason, was to pin the knight. It's not the best move, I don't think, because you can just get chased away. But my opponent immediately was like, yes, I want you to pin my knight. Please pin my knight. And then took and gave up the queen. So in this position, you could try to hold on. And castling is pretty dangerous. I could open up the king, but there's no immediate knockout right away. But our opponent just gave us a queen. And that makes it pretty easy. Then the rest of the game isn't that exciting. They didn't take back for some reason. In this position, I'm not even calculating much. I'm just taking pieces. And I want to explain one more move to you guys. Why did I move my queen here? It looks like I'm trying to trick him, right? Oh, I can take a pawn and take the rook. No, not at all. A perfectly fine move in this position would have been this as well, and just setting up this right away. Just we're up so much material. We're just actually up a queen, right? We have 2 rooks, 2 rooks, bishop, pawns, 3 pawns, slightly damaged 3 pawns. So everything is equal, but we have a queen. Honestly, in this position, this is just like blunder control. I wasn't even trying to threaten this pawn. I mean, technically, this is a fork. This is how if you have more material and better piece development in a safe king, you just walk into tactics on accident all the time. So I walked into a tactic. I didn't even mean to. But this is actually unstoppable. I can take this pawn. If they defend this pawn, I can take this pawn with a fork. So, yeah, this is like completely crushing. But like I said, I didn't make this move with the idea of doing this. I made this move because I wanted to bring my rooks to the center. This pawn's now defended. There's really nothing he can do now. So I made this move. Even if it was low on time, let's say your opponent developed a piece, you could even just make this move automatically. You know you're not going to be losing. Just getting your pieces to safe squares. It's not overly complicated. So cool. Let's play another game at roughly this rating range. Okay, so as black, it can be sometimes a little harder to know what to do because you are susceptible to your opponent's first move. Like, you don't know what they're going to do. And a lot of people learn crazy, tricky lines as white, but not as black. So often as black, you're more susceptible to fall for a trick. So we're going to try to play. In my own games, I'm a King's Indian player, but I don't think you should play. I mean, I don't even know if I should be playing King's Indian until I'm like, super GM. But I don't think lower rated players should play King's Indians in general. So right now, we're going to play symmetrical and just kind of talk our way through a Queen's Pawns game. Okay, we have a classic Queen's Gambit, and we can take the pawn. This is like one of the oldest openings in chess. Or we can defend the pawn, Let's just play it really boring. And just so you know, I am definitely not a Queen's Gambit player. So I'm not going to play the best moves, and you probably don't know the best moves either. That's totally fine. We're just going to play moves that seem logical. We're rated 250. I don't want you guys to memorize 10 moves or 15 moves. We got 2 pawns out. This pawn is protected, so we're not worried about that. I just want to castle soon. So, can we castle? We can also get this bishop out here. The bishop doesn't have a lot of good squares, but I guess in the eventual case of that, we want to leave a... let's not overthink it. Knight before bishop. Knight here. This also defends a square if they go for a check. I just predicted the future. Okay, so knight before bishops, because the logic is you don't know where your bishops want to go, but normally your knight's going to go here, right? Well, right on cue, our opponent lets our bishop escape, so we save a whole turn. Okay, so there's maybe a threat they want to take and take, even though this is totally defended. You might be tempted by this check. It doesn't lose in this position, I don't think, but always be worried about this. Sorry, you might be tempted by this pin, but you always have to watch out for these moves. When your king is not castled, you should always be checking this. When I was a beginner at chess, I was like, always struck with this. I was like, okay. Always be checking. Is there dangerous? Oh, yeah, there is dangerous here. Now, in this position, there probably is a way to save the bishop by just getting our knight out. But why even allow that? We can get the bishop out first. We can also focus on castling. If we castle this direction, I don't want my pawns damaged. I don't want to pin him. I can't go here. Just take it. I can't go here. Just take it. So our 2 options are here and here. I want my king to continue defending the pawn. If I go here, I block my own vision of the pawn, so I'm just going to go here. Now, I don't play the Queen's Gambit. This is not one of my openings, so I don't know the best moves. We're going to learn the first couple moves of these openings. That's what you need at the 200 level, 300 level, 400 level, 800 level, and then we'll go from there. We'll learn the theory some as we go, but okay, now we mostly have pieces developed. I can't put this bishop here. I would love to play this move before, so probably I'm guessing the theory is to do this first. Throw your c-pawn out, and then develop the bishop so you don't waste a move. That probably was the best move. Actually, I take it back. Probably here we could have even done that because remember, there's nothing scary with the checks right now. So here, you want them to take, but you know what, I wasted a move, but I'm pretty sure this is a good move now. So let's do this move now. I want my knight to be behind this pawn if I can. They didn't even take, so The bishop could have taken back and I would have been fine. Even if the bishop didn't take back, I probably could eventually win the pawn by checks. I have a check. Doesn't seem to win anything. Get my knight out. Put more pressure on this pawn. Okay, they pinned my knight. That's very scary, except I have this move. So ask yourself, does this win a piece? We got this. Their knight has this square, though, which defends the bishop. So if we go here, and the knight blocks the check and defends the bishop, can we at that point take this pawn, which would attack the knight? They take back. It's looking very complicated, but what if we do a check? Block here. That looks really cool, right? We might actually break through and, oh yeah, our bishop is hanging. This is why I kind of want, this is the point of the speedrun, okay? At this level, you could take some time and calculate this, and you might figure out a really cool solution, but look about 2 or 3 moves in the future. Boom, block. I don't have an immediate knockout with a pawn. The knight can come here. My bishop is hanging. Okay, well, we haven't finished development yet, so let's develop this. Ooh, I think either one's cool. Let's develop this with an eye of winning this bishop. And we're going to go here and try to convince him to take. He took that pawn. Well, that's kind of what we wanted earlier, but is this bishop not hanging? I mean, this was clever, right? But let's always check. I mean, this is a good move. But always take a second and say, is there a trick here? If I take and take, our knight's hanging and our rook's hanging. But you know what? Rooks can take rooks. So if this happens, again, I don't want you to look 10 moves in the future, but take, win a bishop, take back. Oh no, my knight's hanging, but I can take this first. If he does any move, it looks like, I can take a queen with check, which is a very important thing to see. What can you do with a check? Can we go take, take, and I take anything he does on this side of the board? If he doesn't take care of this problem, I take with check. So I think this is a great move. Take a bishop. He doesn't even take back. I was going to say if he takes back, we're definitely going to do this, but he doesn't even take back. He launches a counterattack. Now, I'm going to be honest. This does look a little scary. Like when you see this move, you're like, oh man, if he goes there, and then gets his queen over here, and we forget to take, but right now, he's several moves away. I'm not worried. We're up a piece. I have this check still, but I'm thinking really either move is fine. This encourages a trade of rooks, which I like. This fixes my pawn structure, but we're up a piece, so let's encourage a trade of rooks and hopefully fix the pawn structure at the same time. Yeah. There we go. And we still have this check. I don't want to forget about... Well, okay. That makes our life a lot easier. This is a very common thing at this level. I guess they're not losing from material yet, but you can tell we have a lot of threats. We're threatening to make a new queen. Their king is stuck in the middle. This is a very common thing, feeling like, oh no, things are getting out of hand. I better take something. But this is kind of like what White had going for it, right? This bishop, this pawn push, this rook coming in, and now he just traded off a really good piece. And not only that, this is totally a side note, but our bishop does defend the promotion square. Don't forget our bishop defends the promotion square. That's an awesome asset for us. So let's see here. We can push, but they take us. We can take the pawn first, but our pawn is hanging, and I think why not take it with check? It looks like we're just going to get through. Okay, now this is very instructive. We're going to talk about winning on what's almost an endgame here. We don't want to calculate. I'm going to try not to calculate more than 2 or 3 or 4 moves. But ask yourself, is the queen trade good for us? Can we transition to an endgame that is winning? Is the queen trade good for us? So if we take, they can take with a knight or with a queen. Well, I'm going to first ask myself, does either of those moves defend the pawn? Yes, but it's complicated. I'm not going to too many moves in the future. There is a cool tactic he has there, but we'll see if he finds it. But right now, it looks like I'm going to win another pawn. And I have actually the tactic doesn't work anyway, but we're not going to look more than 2 or 3 moves. It wins the pawn, right? Yay! I mean, we have a passed pawn here. We also can easily put a rook behind the pawn. That's another thing you want to ask yourself. You always hear rooks behind the pawn are good. in endgame to push the pawn. But take a second and ask yourself, can my rook even get to that square? Yeah. Okay, let's take a second over here. Is any of this scary? 1, 2, 3. It doesn't look like there's anything, right? So queen trade looks good. Even though the material is, yeah, queen trade looks killer. Oh, what am I talking about? We're up a piece. Yeah, we got a rook to get in the game. We got pieces to get involved. What am I doing? So, okay, here's the calculation I was telling you about. If I go here, he has a really cool move, rook here, which is that going to be found at this level? Probably not. But it does hit our bishop and threatens the pawn behind it. So if our bishop moves, you know, to a safe square all the way back here, we lose a pawn and there's bishop. We're still winning. But there's a cool response to this move. I will show you if he does it. Hope he does. Nope, he doesn't play it anyway. Well, we want to simplify. We're winning. So let's trade some pieces. Take with the knight? Nope. Okay. We have to worry about this passed pawn, but that's really all we have to worry about. Right now, we're going to employ a great strategy called C-pawn, push pawn. We have a passed pawn. We're up a piece and a pawn. We always can bring this rook if we need to. But let's start by pushing the pawn a square. And see, because his rook can't defend that square, which is very unfortunate for him. Yeah, push the pawn another square, and it's over. And now we can promote and take away his probably the best move. This actually isn't scary, believe it or not. This is actually almost nice sometimes. This is called an umbrella pawn. It is scary for getting checkmated later in the game, but if he takes his pawn, it kind of clogs up his own rook. His rook can no longer go there because his own pawn's in the way. So let's just win a rook. And now it's completely winning. Oh, he took this first. We can take, but I want to show you guys something cool. Okay, this is an umbrella pawn. We're just going to leave it. And now we're going to take back with a rook. Actually, I shouldn't have pre-moved that one. It doesn't matter anyway, but I should have taken with the bishop, slid the rook over here, and escorted a new pawn. But now we're just going to take and take. We just make sure we just don't get checkmated somehow with the knight. We don't even need to take this. I'm going to leave the umbrella pawn as long as I can. Oh, I should have taken the last pawn, though. That was dumb. Oh, well, here we go. Let's take this and be instructive, okay? We're going to win this last pawn, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take extra moves here on purpose. I want to show you what the bishops can do here. So I'm going to start pushing this pawn, right? This square is defended. Not like the king can transport over there, but this square is defended. Now, let's say our opponent was actually playing this and trying to keep the king close. We can go ahead and push his pawn if we want to. It probably should, right? Let's do it. And if the king moves closer, boom. Oh, nope, but we can do this move anyway if we want to. We don't have to now. But what I wanted to show you is the bishops can kind of escort the pawn up the board. So we can actually go, let's just keep doing this. Let's say you're not going to calculate, you're just using our bishops. And then you go here. And there's no way for the king even to access that square. So we made a new queen. Even if we couldn't make a new queen, you could take this bishop off the board, you're totally winning. Because the king can never break this up. The king can take this bishop, you promote. So this is fixed. The king has to protect this, and then our king can just go win all the pawns. Oopsie. I just mouse slipped. I was trying to show you the pawns I can move. Oh, well, we're going to make it a little more complicated. There we go. That was just a silly mouse slip. And when I take this, before I make a queen, take a quick check. Any stalemates? Well, the pawn has a move. So there's no stalemate. So queen. And probably the fastest way to win this is to cut the king off so it can't escape. And we're going to make a new queen. Or a rook, it doesn't actually matter. None of this is scary as long as we don't fall for this. Let's take this just in case. And what's cool now is we can even pre-move because they make a new queen. It'll be a check, so we'll have to take. So we'll move here. And let's make a rook. Not just to flex, but also to avoid stalemate. Move the rook down and move the queen up. Side by side, rook and queen. Boom. All right, let's analyze this. We're only concerned about the first couple moves of the opening. This is the queen's gambit. We don't want to fall for any traps. By the way, don't defend this pawn with a knight. It is known to be a very bad idea. Just defend it with a pawn. This is how you play the queen's gambit. These first couple moves, you probably should just know so nothing terrible happens. Our opponent in this position just brought his knight out, which I'm pretty sure is probably the number one played move in this position. Yep, the number one played move is just to bring your knight out. The knight wants to be behind these two pawns, which is what we try to do later too, get the knight behind these two pawns. In this position, we got our knight out as well, and our opponent chose to take, which I guess happens, people take here, but it seems to relieve lots of the tension, the pressure we're feeling. So we can take back with either piece. I think the pawn is probably a little more standard. In this position, our opponent chose to pin us. Now, they could have gone for an immediate recapture, but it is defended. So now they are threatening something that, okay, we're going to develop our bishop out here and pin your knight to that. So now we have a problem. This is our first problem to solve. You have to ask yourself when you're playing games of chess, are there any problems? Are there any actual threats? So at this point, no. If they would have just done a simple move a pawn, no threats. We kind of have a free move. Our pawn's very defended. But once this move happens, you're like, oh, they attacked my knight. I don't care about my pawns being doubled. Oh, look, I can take with the queen. But you have to ask yourself, is there a deeper threat? And there is. This is what really the 200, 300, 400, 500 ELO club is all about. Like, not asking yourself why your opponent did something. So if they take, you take back. But you forgot a turn sooner. You literally are worried about losing this pawn. Well, now you lose this pawn, and they attack your knight. So yes, we have to do something about it. We chose to develop the bishop, which I don't know. It looks like, according to like master database, it is like one of the most common moves. The two most common moves are defending the pawn with a pawn, or developing a bishop. So we played a great move. They played a move just to develop their center pawn. We castled. All this looks pretty safe to me. The bishop came out here. Now we struck here. So I'm curious, way back here, I said we could have played this move straight away. I wonder if there's a problem. This move is fine. It's not the best move by any means. I guess it doesn't solve our problem. Okay, yeah. In the game, I might have confused you. Sorry about that. In the game, I was like, oh, normally you want to play this move straight away and take back with the bishop. But we couldn't, because we had to defend against the threat. That was the whole reason why our bishop went here. So just in retrospect, I forgot that's why we didn't do this move. But then when the time came, this is a really nice move to remember. Is it, according to the engine, it's not the best move, but it's a very, very good move still. And this move's idea is that if they take, you do have the typical isolated queen's pawn for this, but let's not get into that at the 500 level. This move just helps develop pieces. This move is also perfectly fine with the knight coming here. We move here. They chose to retreat the knight, and at this point I'm like, oh man, we got pressure. Get our knight out. We're hitting the center, and then the bishop came here to pin us, and let's see if this tactic worked. I don't think it says it actually is completely winning. Okay, it's completely winning because we can take this pawn, and then we just jump in with this tactic now. So again, it was more than 2 or 3 moves. This actually works because if they take our bishop, we take this, allow them to take a rook, but their queen is hanging. So they have to kind of move the queen. Then wherever the queen goes, we're going to have a reveal check, even backwards, to win the bishop. But you have to be careful. We can win the bishop. Their queen can go here. We can win the bishop. They can take our queen. We can take the queen back. They can take our rook. And this is what I'm talking about. We end up barely immaterial, but we have a better position. We have more development. Like, for example, if they want to finish their development, we can finish our development, already threatening to do the same thing to them. They could castle. We could, if we want to, go ahead and do this move and win a pawn. We're up a pawn, but more than that, we have a lead in development. But again, this is a little too complicated. I don't want you guys to have to look literally. Let's see, what was that? You would have to know and look. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really, let's say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 moves. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's just play something simple. So we did in the game. Look, we totally have the advantage still. Is it totally winning? No, but we completely have the advantage still. We broke the pin. It's a simple move. You have a great position, and you're not going to blunder. And you might ask yourselves, well, don't you want to always play the best move? You don't always have time to calculate all that in a fast game. That's kind of the difference between playing like a 2-hour game of chess where you can take 15 minutes there and make sure it all works, and a 10-minute game of chess where you just kind of got to get your pieces and go. So here, this move is simple, and again, it's not a bad move. We still have a winning position. They threw their pawn forward. We attacked the bishop. Now, this was kind of a weird move. I understand, I think, the logic. If we take, they take, and we have 2 pieces hanging. This is a very common kind of beginner blunder. And all the time, if you watch beginner games, again, this isn't making fun of beginners, but just a very common thing that will happen is you'll see someone do this, the opponent will take, and they'll go, oh, that was so clever, 2 pieces are hanging. Well, they got me. move the rook, and then you proceed with an equal game. This happens all the time, even if you don't think this happens. This happens at advanced levels too, but much more rare. Beginner levels all the time, something like this happens, and you go, oh, that was so clever, they opened up an attack. You don't ask yourself, well, what if I just take? Oh, it actually doesn't work at all, because when they recapture, you have a chance now to save your knight somewhere, get your knight to a square, or even give this check and pick up a pawn if you want. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can actually give this check. That's actually really clever. You can just now trade queens, and now you're just totally winning in that material, right? But this is a very common beginner blunder where you just don't think through. But what if they just take me? Also, like I said during the game, it's important to recognize this is a check. If somehow capturing this knight had been a check on us, and they got to move, it was good, but we can take this. Now, let's say for some reason this wasn't a check. We take, somehow they take, it still doesn't work, but it looks scarier. But your calculation can stop here, and you can just say, well, this is a check. Now it's my move. So whatever happens, you have the next move. So, again, if you were to think about this and only think 2 or 3 moves deep, you could say, okay, I take, they take, oops, I take, they take. Both pieces are hanging, but I can take first. And the queen recapturing over here in the corner doesn't look like it has any threats from the corner. So we went for it. We took. They didn't even take back. And now we're just like in trade pieces mode. We go here. We go here. They make our job easier. We're already winning. So thank you. And then we're just like, let's get our pieces in the game. And this is where we evaluate the queen trade. The queen trade is the second best move. The top 2 moves according to the engine are basically equal. Just getting bishops over to escort the pawns. But this is also, I mean, it's like 0.23 different. Just do a queen trade. Win an extra pawn. This move actually looks really clever because let's say you move back. They win a pawn, and you're like, okay, now I got to make another move, and you're still obviously totally winning in this position. But again, the very, very, very clean. Boop. Now, your material, right? So if they want to waste a few moves to try to trade off that bishop, first of all, you have time. You can come defend it, so it's not even going to work. You can get a bishop over there and attack the rook on the next move. That's not going to work either. So none of the moves actually work that they have to defend against this. But, like, let's say they go here and you just go, okay, fine. Move the rook, right? None of it actually works. But it is a nice trick to remember. You're at material. You can just lock in this bishop. And we kept that there. Locked in. I did the move anyway, just to lock in the bishop. We just kept it there. Then I pushed. Make a queen. This looks scary. But, again, umbrella pawn. Now his rook can't go to that square to hurt our king. We're good. And this is pretty simple. Trade now material. And here, you don't have to trade the knight. You don't want to get in the habit of doing this in close games, but we're up literally 2 bishops and the pass pawn. And here, I was just trying to show you a technique of the bishops. They're powerful. They can do this at close range. As you can see, they really doesn't even have a move. He can't go here or here. So he can't even stop the pawn. Even if he was smart, he's like, I'll move a pawn. You push this pawn, well, that square's covered. This square's covered. So the 2 bishops completely cut him off. Not that you have to see all that. You don't have to calculate all that into the future. Just know these 2 bishops. Like I said, worst case scenario, you move a pawn here. Even if we waste like 20 moves, give him a bishop, and we just keep wasting time. We just keep wasting time. We just keep wasting time. Let's say he gets over here, 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 and you're in this position. You're still totally winning because the king can never take that bishop because you make a new queen. They can't take the pawn, obviously, because the bishop's defending. And now you can just do this. And, okay, he has to move a pawn. So it's like, I don't lose a pawn. You just gobble up pawns, you know. Or let's say he moves his king here. You can just trade off 1 pawn. If he pushes forward, you win the last one. If he takes, you take. And what's he going to do? You're just going to take your time. You have all the time in the world. That's actually a really hard concept, I think, of beginner chess, is when you have all the time in the world. Like in this position, you have to realize there's nothing this king can do against you. Nothing at all he can do against you. So just go win the game. The only thing to be careful about, again, make sure there's no stalemates if you go here. In this case, there's not. If you're worried about that, undo it. I just now did. You make with check. The king has to run one way or another. And it should be checkmate pretty soon. If you can't find the checkmate, you can always just make another queen. Again, check for stalemate. You make a queen with check. That's a check. King goes here. A lot of moves win. You don't have to find the fanciest checkmate. You can just make sure every move at this point's a check. That's a check. And yeah, okay, there's a check. Move here. Don't stalemate. Don't stalemate. Just, okay, where's the next move? It's a check. This is a great move. Stalemate. Don't go there. Just, okay, I'm just move over here. Okay, I can't find checkmate. I can move my king, queen closer. It's still a check. He goes here. Okay, now there's the ladder. So even if it takes you a little bit to find the ladder, it's okay. As long as you're giving checks, you don't stalemate. It's very easy to stalemate, especially when you have like an extra bishop on the board. The bishop's over here and it cuts off random squares you don't expect. So yeah, that is our first speed run. This is our first level. So we're down the 200s right now. We will be working our way up, and hopefully before long we'll be beating, 1 million rated players like Magnus Carlsen. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions or specific requests about openings or anything like that. See you guys.